fire.
Just read to Meridian and
Fire now.
Be Meridian. If there's still active shooting, we'll take the Bearcat, head that way. 39.
Upper Sioux, going to be Locust Grove and U-Stick, and they just put out a shot fire, just so you know, on the route.
This is the 1032 podcast, where we interview experts in firearms and training with law enforcement, military, and competitive shooting backgrounds. All right, we're recording.
Okay.
All right, Sam. I have Sam here. Sam was introduced to me by a friend of mine over at 43rd State Armory.
Yes.
Right? If you guys get a chance, look up 43rd State Armory. They sell guns and gear over in the Caldwell area. And but I got introduced to Sam. Sam, you worked for LAPD, correct?
Yes, I was on Los Angeles Police Department for 28 years and 9 months.
28 years and 9 months, huh? So was that a good career for you?
It was an outstanding career.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never had to work for a living.
Oh,
I
good.
just really had a good career. I started in 1970.
You must have saw a lot because you got to see all kinds of different riots and major incidents.
Yes,
right?
I've been in the riots, and we had the Rodney King riots I was in, and the Patty Hearst. I was almost ready to go to that when they found him, and we were all suited up, ready to go, and then they canceled at the last minute. But I was looking forward to going to there, but I didn't make it. But I've been in a lot of the incidences.
So you've been in a lot of the incidents that we read about on the news.
That's right.
Or watch, I guess, or listen to.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the things that made the news.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up at?
I grew up in El Monte, California.
Okay, so you're California
I lived there
your whole
most
life.
of my life, yeah.
And what made you want to get into law enforcement?
I started out after I got out of school and stuff as an auto mechanic. Mm-hmm. And that was work. And I really didn't care for it. And I always wanted to be a policeman, but it was almost like, it's like you want to be a president. What chances do you have? And I just didn't know because, but then I just made up my mind that I want to be a policeman. I want to be a Los Angeles policeman. So I just started going that direction, and I made it. I got accepted to the academy, and that about killed me, but I made it through.
Your academy's over there a little more military-like compared to the ones here in Idaho.
Yeah, it was 5 months we had at the time, and it was very military-like.
They yell at you guys, mess up your bunks, all that kind of stuff?
They yelled at us, they ran us, and all that stuff. And but it was all worth it.
Kind of modeled after like a military boot camp?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, our academies are not like that here.
Yeah.
I think people come to our academies and probably like, wow, this is, no one's yelling at us. I think it's more like going to college all day long here. But, I was really excited when I heard that you were living here and your background and incidents that you were involved in. Like I was telling you before we started recording, is my intent of my podcast was to be able to highlight things that Idaho cops have done. Cops who live here, just like the incident we're going to talk about, you were involved in the Hollywood bank robbery. And that Hollywood bank robbery is one of the incidents that changed law enforcement across the nation. And so even though your incident didn't happen here in Idaho, I really wanted to hear your story because that is one of the things that changed the history of law enforcement nationwide for small agencies and big agencies.
Yes.
So
it changed a lot, yes.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just kind of wanted to let people know where this podcast is going. So go ahead and tell me about getting into the academy and kind of the progression a little bit of your career.
Well, I went through the academy and it's different in them days. We had a month in the field during the academy, and that was interesting. I worked detectives for a couple of days while I was in the academy, and we had a homicide first thing, and I went to the autopsy. And about a week later, for about a week I didn't eat after going through the autopsy. I'd never seen anything like that before. Then I graduated from the academy and I was assigned to Wilshire Division. And I worked there, probably about, altogether, probably 14, 15 years. I just really liked Wilshire a lot. And I worked patrol mainly. I worked on loan a couple times to detectives or narcotics, and I just didn't care for that. I just liked patrol because that's where the action is at, and that just gave me more satisfaction than anything else.
Yeah.
And then I promoted to sergeant, and I went to Rampart first for a while, and I worked there for about 9 months. Then I went to
That's a famous place.
Rampart. Yes, yeah. Yeah,
Not always for good things, though.
not
right?
always good things. No, yeah. But I was there about 9 months, and then I left there and went to Southwest Division, a little further south. I worked there a while. Then I went back to Wilshire, and then, well, before I made sergeant, I went to the academy, and I was an instructor in the academy for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that as a policeman. That way, there I could work out and do all that on city time, you know.
Oh, nice. You're
With the
able
classes, and that was kind of fun. And then I made sergeant, and then I worked Wilshire a lot as sergeant. Then I went to North Hollywood Division, and I was there as a sergeant, working patrol. So, and that was really nice. And then the North Hollywood bank robbery showed up.
Yeah. I want to back up just a little bit. So you were in Wilshire, you were in Rampart, and what were those divisions like? Were they high crime, low crime, or?
Yeah, Wilshire had everything. It had the very, very crime-ridden areas, and it had the very rich areas, depending on if you're in the north end or the south end. But it was really a lot of things going on, a lot of action. Many nights I've rolled from shooting call to shooting call, so there was a lot of violence there, a lot of shooting there.
And were those gang related, domestics? What kind of?
A lot of gang related, yeah. Not so much domestic, but a lot of gang related and stuff. But there was a lot. In fact, I was involved in 2 other shootings in Wilshire. I shot a robbery suspect, and then another shooting. Remember during the gas crisis in '79, when you had to wait in line for
Jimmy Carter era?
Huh?
During Jimmy Carter?
Yeah,
when he was
you
the
had to wait in
president?
line for your gas and everything, even odd days. Well, there was a suspect went down the line, and he was charging people for gas before they got to the pumps. And then when they got to the pumps, they complained that they already paid, and the gas station owner went looking for whoever's doing that, and he found him. So the suspect ended up shooting him, and we got the call. We were requesting code 7, lunchtime.
Yeah.
We were requesting code 7, and we got a continued patrol and handle an ambulance shooting. And to make a long story short, we got further on the suspect. We tried to surround him. We kind of got where he was at, and another radio call come out at the house he was at. So me and another sergeant, we went toward there to find him, and he kind of ambushed us. The sergeant was in front of me, and he stepped out and started shooting him, and he didn't see me. And then when I went out to get him, he was probably about 5 feet from the sergeant, going to shoot him in the back because he had fell down and was on his hands and knees. And so we shot it out, and he shot me, and I shot him. So
you were also shot in the exchange?
I was shot too,
Okay.
yes.
And what kind of a firearm were you carrying at the time?
I was
Revolver?
carrying a 6-inch revolver
Okay.
with 158 grain round nose bullets. That's the only thing we could carry.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And luckily, he was carrying the same thing.
He was carrying the same, huh?
He was carrying the same thing, yeah.
Well, I guess those were the like today. Everybody, you hear everybody says Glock, and most people have a Glock, and
Yeah.
back in the day it was a revolver.
A revolver, Smith & Wesson revolver. Yep, that's what we carried,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing we could carry. So, so that was, we took him into custody, and he went to prison, and that was the end of that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he survived his wounds then, huh?
He survived his wounds, yes.
And back in the day, what was your firearms training like? Do you feel like it was good, or was it bare minimum training, or did you get a lot of it or not?
No, it was, in the early days, it was pretty good. In the academy, we shot every day, but, we started out shooting in the target range with one-handed shooting,
Yeah.
at 25 yards. And then the combat range was different, but all we had was earplugs, the little rubber earplugs. So that didn't do very much for your hearing.
Yeah.
So now I wear hearing aids. So our shooting wasn't too bad. But then as we went along, we had a lot of shooting training days, and those were really good. But as time went on in the department, we started having less and less training days with shooting. And then during the gas crunch, we stopped shooting, qualifying once a month, and it went to like every 6 months. So
Well, it was just because of budget issues.
budget issues and the gas and all that, yeah. But shooting could have been better.
Yeah.
The training should have been better than it was. But yeah, and it's just like anything. People that were interested in guns did a lot more shooting, and some of the guys carried guns because they had to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty common in law enforcement. Is you got your, quote unquote, your gun guys who it's something they're passionate about. It's kind of their hobby. Instead of out playing golf on the weekends, they're out playing with their guns.
Yeah, that's
on the
right.
weekends, and so
Yeah.
they're usually the guys who are a little better.
Yeah. And then the other guys that don't never carried a gun and don't really care to carry it, but they just have to.
Yeah, yeah, they're the ones that when it's time to do an inspection, that have all the lint and the dust and
That's right.
everything.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, and what about Rampart Division?
Rampart, that was my first assignment as a sergeant. And Rampart, population-wise, is a lot denser. A lot of people in Rampart, a lot of apartments and stuff like that. And it was a busy division, a lot of crime. And I didn't, I'd worked Wilshire so long, that was my home. And Rampart, I just didn't care for
Wilshire, I
that.
think I called it Wilshire or something like that.
Wilshire, yeah, a lot of people call it Wilshire, yeah.
That's Wilshire.
It's Wilshire. I call it Wilshire. Yeah, we call it Wilshire. A lot of people say Wilshire, but that was my home. That's what I really liked.
Was Rampart more violent or less violent than your?
I would say about the same.
About the same.
We had a lot of crime there, a lot of crime in Wilshire as well. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's any worse or any better.
Yeah. So were you guys at the time one-man units or two-man units?
We were 2-man.
Yeah.
We ran what they call A cars with all 2-man units, and then we ran some L cars, 1-man units.
Yeah.
But mostly 2-man.
So you started back in the day of Adam 12.
We did. I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So you young guys who don't know who Adam 12 is, go look up Adam 12. There's a lot of good shows. It was a series on TV called Adam 12.
I watched Adam 12 faithfully.
Yeah, I have my kids at one time bought me, like a set of DVDs that had all the series, all the Adam 12 police series.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, my kids still to this day, they talk about, they can remember us
And
sitting down
that was
watching
pretty
that
close
when
to
they were
police
kids.
work.
Well, the thing I liked about Adam 12, obviously, I don't think they had the technology to make things look super realistic, but what I liked is each TV show was based on an event that happened.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were based on, loosely based on true events. So,
Yeah. But it was pretty realistic.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of car were you driving back then?
Oh, I remember
Would they have Plymouths back then?
we had Plymouth when I started. We had Plymouth.
Plymouth Furies?
Then we went to Ramblers. Yeah, but everybody thinks the police cars are so fast, and they weren't anything special.
Yeah.
They just cars.
Yeah, and so then you carried a revolver with 6 rounds in it, and how much spare ammo did you carry on you?
Well, it's amazing because when I started, you had a revolver with 6 rounds, and then you carried 12 extra. So you were required to carry 18 rounds of ammunition. And those 12 rounds were loose in the pouch. you know. And then they finally went to speedy loaders. And I remember we had the rubber strips
Yes.
that you put the bullets in. Then they went to the round ones,
The round speed
the
loaders.
round
yeah.
speedy loaders. Then we started carrying 4 round speedy loaders. And so what I did is, you know, some guys carried saps. I never cared for a sap. It just wasn't my thing, you know.
Yeah. For
So
those who don't
like-
know what a sap is,
Huh?
young guys, right? For the young guys who don't know what a sap is, right? It's a long, like, piece of leather with some lead on the end.
Yeah,
right?
it's about probably 10 inches, 11 inches long.
Yeah.
With a spring and lead on the end.
Yeah, it springs back and forth as you swing it, and it's just
Yeah.
it's a pain compliance tool that you smack people with.
And all it does is make them mad and
Yeah.
makes a mess. So, but that goes in a sap pocket that's on your uniform. So I made a leather.
Now guys they used to put the big D-cell flashlights in there in the back pocket. Now people probably don't even know why they even have those pockets.
Probably don't.
Maybe they don't even make them anymore. I don't know.
But I made a leather pouch, and I filled that with bullets. So I carried probably 20, 30 extra bullets with me in my leather pouch in my sap pocket.
Well,
You know, so I had more ammo with
so
me.
you were concerned about gunfights then, huh?
I was concerned. I was concerned about that, and I didn't want to run out of ammo.
Yeah.
18 rounds just didn't seem like much to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you carried a handgun, 18 rounds of ammo. You didn't carry a sap, but did you carry a nightstick?
Oh, I carried my baton all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Was
First
it
we
a
had-
straight wooden baton?
first we had a straight wooden baton. I carried that forever, and then we went to the monadnocks, and I carried that. But oh yeah, we always carried that faithfully.
Yeah. And the monadnocks, are those like the is that the martial arts?
Yes, with a handle
that.
on it.
Yeah. Okay. The
It's like a straight stick with a
Yeah.
handle on it.
I'm trying to think what else they call it.
PR-24.
Yeah, PR-24s. Yes.
Yeah, PR-24.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's been a long time.
Yep.
So I carried that the whole rest of my career. Yeah,
What do you think of that tool?
I like
it?
that better
Yeah.
than the straight stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. Except I quickly learned that you don't run with it in your ring
Yeah.
because it has a tendency to come out and trip you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ask me how I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
PR-24s those were kind of cool.
Yeah, they were good. They were really good. So they were really handy. But we had that. And, you know, in the early days, we always had to wear hats. You couldn't get out of your car without a hat on. And that was kind of a pain. But I remember one time I was working traffic. And in traffic, you wear a white hat. And it was at night, and we responded to a man with a gun call. And we were responding and didn't bring our hats, right? Because at night, with a white hat on, you're going
Yeah.
for a man with a gun. And some captain drove by and saw us. And of course, he called our captain and complained that we didn't have our hats on. But our captain thought it was okay. We were justified in doing what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, but then finally they did away with hats. I mean, we had them, but we didn't have
Sure.
to wear them.
Probably just wearing it was a Class A uniform.
Yeah, Class A uniform we could wear them, yeah. But then that's another thing, you know, we had to wear long sleeve shirts, except for certain months of the year. Certain months of the year we could wear short sleeve.
The
But,
hottest months of the year, probably.
Hottest
right?
months
What,
of the year
July,
we could
August.
wear short sleeve, yeah. But if you wore a short sleeve shirt, you couldn't wear a tie. If you wore a long sleeve shirt, you had to wear a tie. They were pretty particular on your uniforms.
Yeah. Yeah, LAPD is always known for having very good looking uniforms. Or, you know, the guys have the, you know, it's just like a military uniform is, you know, the best way to explain it. You know, you look at a Marine and their uniform looks perfect. And LAPD guys, I remember, at least when I was younger, it seemed like that's the way it used to be. You know,
That was the way it was, yes. Yeah, they were very, very particular about
Yeah.
your uniform. And I remember, I can't remember the months now when we could wear short sleeve, but when the temperature was over a certain degrees, they would allow us short sleeve. They called it short sleeve Code C uniforms. So we'd come in and check on a hot day and see if we could wear them or not. Then you'd go upstairs and change your shirt, you know, to put a short sleeve on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have any other, before we get into the Hollywood bank robbery, do you have any other incidents that you want to share with us anything major? You said you were involved with the Patty Hearst thing, and what was the other thing you said that you were involved with?
I was at another shooting with not a bank robbery. He robbed a Sears store, and he'd robbed a Sears store, and we got a robbery in progress call. And as we were responding, a security guard was running in the parking lot chasing the suspect, and he told me that he'd shot at him twice as he's making his getaway, and he had a gun in one hand and a bag of money in the other hand. And I chased him, and then he was just about to get away, but he turned and faced me. And so he was 139 feet, and I fired my first shot at him, and with a revolver, and I couldn't believe I missed. And it's like, what happened? So I really aimed again, and I fired one more shot, and I missed again. And I thought, this is not good. I mean, it's still going through my mind, it's happening fast, but it's what I'm thinking. And so I really aimed, because I'd been running a while, chasing him, and I really aimed, and my third shot hit him in the chest. And I can see him to this day. He just wilted like a flower, fell right down. But he had a gun in one hand, a bag of money in the other. Yeah. So we took him into custody, and he lived. He did fine. But
Again, shooting 38 round nose,
58 grain round nose bullet. Yep.
Yeah. Were they lead at least?
They were lead bullets. Yeah. But we had no hollow points then.
That's why they weren't dying, I guess.
No. Yeah. Our department was death on hollow points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, those are the two shootings that I was involved in.
And then those were obviously big incidents, but they weren't prolonged like the Hollywood bank robbery.
No, they were nothing
right?
like the Hollywood bank robbery shootout.
So I can remember watching that on TV, on news when I was younger. That was, was that in about 97, 96, 97?
Yeah. February 28th, I think, 97, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you kind of walk us through that, how you got that call and kind of just chronological order?
Yeah, I was a watch commander that day, and our division had two captains, a patrol captain and an area captain that was over everything. And the patrol captain was out of state because his mom had passed away, so he was out of the picture. And the area captain was at a command staff meeting in West Los Angeles. So I was a watch commander, and the regular watch commander was the acting captain, and he was lieutenant. So I was the watch commander's desk, and I heard a call come out, officer needed help. Possible 211 suspect, and shots being fired. And so I grabbed, we had a call car that we responded in, so I grabbed the call car keys, and I went to get the lieutenant. And he was monitoring the radio as well, so he came to get me. So we responded together to the scene. And when we got there, as we were going, officers were putting out more help calls and saying they could hear gunfire in the bank. But just to back up a little bit, what happened was two officers were just driving down the street on Laurel Canyon, and they saw two suspects going in the bank with full body armor and rifles going in the bank. So, and the suspects did not see them. So they deployed and put out help calls and started the ball rolling, kind of. So the officers were there, and the suspects didn't know the police were there, and the officers could hear automatic gunfire inside the bank. And you know, in banks when you have the bulletproof glass?
Yeah.
So these guys had armor-piercing bullets with their rifles. And instead of getting people to open the doors, they shot through the glass and shot the locks off to get in behind the tellers and all that stuff. So as our units are deploying, people are deploying all around, and the suspects come out and see us and start shooting. And one of our sergeants and a couple other cars were parked in front of the bank, and the suspect shot the sergeant in the arm, and I think in the leg a little bit, in the arm, and a civilian got hit, and then they just started shooting. And when the lieutenant and I got there, we were south of the bank in the parking lot, and we could hear all the gunfire, automatic gunfire. It sounded like there was 1 million suspects. We couldn't believe. Well, we didn't know how many there were at the time, but everybody kept shooting, and the suspects were not going down.
There was 2 suspects, correct?
There were 2 suspects, yes, and
they had fully automatic rifles.
They had full AK-47s with 100-round drum magazines. So they had, and I think they ended up having like 4 AKs and a couple of AR-15s, and then some Beretta handguns.
Had some H&K rifles, I believe.
They had an H&K rifle. Yes, they did. So, and we'll get back to the H&K rifle.
Okay.
So, guys were shooting and hitting the suspects, and they were going over the air saying they're hitting them and they're not going down. So guys were getting a little bit hesitant to shoot them, because when they would shoot them, the suspects would turn on them with their automatic weapons. And these bullets were going through our police cars, they were going through trees, they were going through everything. And they hit a couple officers really bad, and they went down. And one officer particularly, he was hit so bad, and we couldn't get to him to save him, to rescue him. So what they did is they put him on a tactical frequency with his own RTO, radio telephone operator, so his own dispatcher, to keep him going. So they went to a tactical frequency, and she kept talking to him to keep him going. So he was hit really bad, and we had a couple more officers hit bad. And getting back to that HK, one of our young probationers was across the street from the Bank of America in the parking lot, and they were proned out. And so this across the street, he shot the suspect with a shotgun, with a 12-gauge shotgun, double-aught buck. And he shot him, and the suspect turned on him with that HK. And he said he had the same kind of rifle, and he recognized that rifle. So, but his wasn't automatic, obviously.
Yeah.
So the suspect shot, and they shot him in the butt, because he was laying down, and there was a couple other people with him, and they got shot as well. So, and it's kind of, they made it out of there, and they were in like a strip mall, and they went to a dentist office for medical treatment. So they went in, and the dentist treated them, for their gunshot wounds the best he could.
Was able to stop the bleeding.
To stop the bleeding, yeah. Didn't do the final treatment, but just to patch them up a little bit. But as we're shooting, as everybody's shooting, the suspects just aren't going down. And of course, we requested additional ammo right away, and we requested SWAT right away.
So you guys were running out of ammo.
We didn't have much ammo, but we requested. They have a ton of ammo at the station, so they brought extra ammo out for everybody. And we requested SWAT. But when you're in a position like that, it takes a long time to get through. And SWAT was at the academy working out. It was right near their end to watch, time to go home. And they were working out. And so they responded.
Is that why in the video you see some of the guys in shorts?
So, yes. Okay, so typically, they were at the academy working out, and they had their shorts on, their PT gear. So they responded that way. And, typically when the SWAT unit comes into any scene, they'll come and they'll get suited up and they get briefed, and then they relieve the patrol guys, and then they go take care of whatever they need to. Well, that's not the case here, because these guys didn't bother getting suited up. They just came as they were with their bulletproof vests on. They came as they were. But it took forever for them to get there, it seems like. So while things are going on, we had an helicopter, and the suspect started shooting at the helicopter. So I told the helicopter to get altitude to get away because he's getting shot at. So they did. And a policeman comes on the radio and he says, "Can we go to B&B Guns to get rifles?" Because we had a gun shop that we did a lot of business with.
And that's because at the time, you guys were only carrying handguns and a few
The
shotguns.
only
correct?
thing we were carrying, we had 38 revolvers and 9mm handguns, semi-automatic handguns, Berettas, and then we had a shotgun. That's the only guns we had.
And none of those guns, the pistols or the shotgun, would penetrate their body armor, correct?
No, and the shotguns, we used to carry double-aught buck Magnum, but they reduced the Magnum to a tactical load because of all the women coming on the apartment. The Magnum was a little bit too strong, so they made it a tactical load. I mean, they still would ruin your whole day, but but that's the only firepower we had. And so when this policeman came on the radio and asked to go to B&B Guns to get rifles, well, that's totally against our policy. So the lieutenant and I, we looked at each other for a split second, and we both nodded yes. And I put on the radio, I said, "Go get them. Go get the rifles." And so they did. They went to B&B Guns, and the store was just opening up, and they told them they wanted the rifles. And of course, the employees were reluctant to give them anything without the owner approving it. So, and I can't remember if the owner showed up or they called him. I don't remember. But anyway, the owner approved him to give them rifles. So I think they got 4 or 5 AR-15s and a whole lot of 30-round magazines, all fully loaded. And, you know, it takes a while to load a bunch of 30-round magazines and get all the rifles. So they did. They got everything. And while they were doing all that, the suspects were out of the bank, and they were going along, and the one suspect had gotten his car and started moving. And it's funny, I put on the radio that because he was in his car, if they get away, that we're not going to chase them. Because, you know, if our guys chase them and try to make a vehicle stop, and if they do stop, we're going to die. Because we can't fight that kind of firepower. So I told them that if they get away, we're just going to follow them and let the air unit follow them, and we'll have SWAT catch them, you know, and take them. Well, you know, their car was getting shot up so bad that it was, all the tires getting shot out and everything, so it wasn't running well at all. And then the one suspect was moving on foot, and he started getting hit a little bit. But guys were complaining because they were hitting the suspects, but they weren't going down. So I put out on the radio, I said, shoot for their head and shoot for their feet. You know, because we're shot to shoot body mass. Sure. That's what we taught. And we're taught to double tap too, where you shoot 2 in the chest and 1 in the head. But it seemed like everybody was shooting for the chest and double. So I put out, shoot for the head or shoot for the feet. At least if you hit them in the feet, they go down and they can't move so much. So about that time, one of the suspects, his gun jammed. He was walking along, what's the name of that street? Archwood, I think. And he was walking along there, and one of the bullets hit his gun by the officers, and his gun jammed. and he was trying to unjam it, but finally he threw it down.
This was a long gun, right?
It was a long gun. It was a rifle. Yes, it was a long gun. And he threw that down, and about that time he raised his gun up, and it looked like he shot himself in the chin or in the head. And that's just the time another officer shot him, took a headshot, and got him as well. So he was down. Mm-hmm. And then that's when the other officer was in his car. The other suspect was in his car trying to make the getaway, and the car just wasn't running. So there was, on the next street over, there was a pickup truck, and the guy that owned the truck jumped out of the truck. Well, when he jumped out of the truck, he took the keys with him. So the suspect got in the truck, but there was no keys. So he got out, and that's when SWAT finally arrived. So I intercepted SWAT, and it's funny. So I looked in the SWAT car, and there was four SWAT guys in the car with their PT gear on, shorts and T-shirts and and a vest on, mm-hmm. with their AR-15s. And the driver of that car, that SWAT car, he had one foot on the brake as hard as he could. He had the other foot on the gas as hard as he could, trying to get briefed and trying to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had to go, but he had to listen. But he was just, both feet were on the gas and the brake as hard as he could. So I told him what the suspects were, and they took off after the suspect. And when they went around, they confronted the suspect, and they bailed out of the car and deployed, and the suspect started shooting at them. And, they shot under the car and took his legs out. And it's amazing, what you can do by ricocheting off the ground, Mm-hmm. So they took the suspect down pretty fast. So then it was pretty much both suspects were in custody. And it's funny because the suspects had full body armor on. And when I looked at the one, they had gloves on, and he even had like a wristwatch taped to his glove so he could keep track of time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on his wrist, it was taped to his glove so he could be sure to see it. So that I guess they thought they had so much time before the police got there, because they'd robbed a couple other banks and armored cars, and they got away with it, But this time they just got caught going in.
They probably thought it was like the movies where they could time how long it was going to take dispatch to get a car there.
That's right. That's my thinking.
I heard that they, through news reports, that these guys had watched the movie over and over called Heat, and they had a similar bank robbery.
Oh, is that
movie,
right?
In a movie called Heat, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to watch a good bank robbery, show, watch Heat.
Watch Heat, okay. So we were not convinced that there were only two suspects. We couldn't believe that there were only two, so we were thinking that there were more suspects. So just to back up a little bit, so during this whole time, it was like 45 minutes of nonstop shooting. So in that 45 minutes of nonstop shooting, not one member of the command staff got there. So Nick and I were we were the field commanders, and nobody relieved us, obviously, of the situation. So finally, after the shooting stopped, people started rolling in. Command staff started rolling in, and we went down to a furniture store and took the furniture store over at their the furniture store is okay, as our command post. And we're starting to debrief and figure out what we're doing next. So we were going to have to go searching for more suspects. And I know they decided to get teams to go searching, and I told them that they can't do that. the only people that can search for the suspects were SWAT, because they're the only ones that can match what they've got. Because of our patrol guys with a revolver or a shotgun going searching and find someone, it's just not going to be good. So they agreed, and then SWAT took over the searches. But come to find out, there were no more suspects. There were just those two. And
And how many rounds were fired? I heard there was over 2,000 rounds fired.
yeah, I heard over 2,000 rounds too. And you know, with LAPD, anytime a police officer fires a round or any rounds, each round has to be accounted for. So you have to account for every round fired by an LAPD officer. Well, in this case, that would be impossible. So I think this was the only time in history that they didn't have to account for every round. There was just too many fires.
Investigation was too big. Yeah.
It was just too big. And you know, in the bank, on the front lobby where the suspects came out of the bank, I don't think you could take one step without stepping on a casing. There were so many casings because these guys had drum magazines. You know, they held like 100 rounds each, and there was so many casings there, you just couldn't step without stepping on something. So after things settled down again, a captain from a neighboring division saw our patrol guys carrying AR-15s, which was totally out of policy for Los Angeles Police Department. So he got one of his sergeants, and he told his sergeants to gather up the AR-15s. And he went to the chief, and he said he's going to start a personnel complaint against me and the lieutenant for authorizing that, because that's totally out of policy.
Yeah.
And you know, with policy, I've always believed that you follow policy 100%. You know, and I always have followed policy. But you know, when you get to a point where it's life or death, policy, I won't have somebody die because of policy. So policy didn't matter to the lieutenant and I, because we're trying to save our officers and save the civilians around. So we authorized it without even thinking about it. So Chief Willie Williams was the chief at the time. And he basically said, no, we're not going to do that. And he stood up for us. And I understand later that some members of the staff didn't think that was right, but of course he had the final word. So they didn't issue a personnel complaint against us.
Yeah.
And it was okay. And then that alone changed the way the weapons that we carried. We soon went to 45 autos, and we soon went to AR-15s, and I think all across the country they did.
Yeah, I think, like I was saying at the beginning, that incident, I think, really made law enforcement nationwide realize how important it was to have rifles deployed to their patrolmen, not
Yes.
just SWAT, right?
Yes.
And some agencies, you know, I know out here in a lot of the rural areas, a lot of agencies had rifles for years, but that wasn't really common. You know, it wasn't common for, you know, some of these medium-sized and bigger agencies to issue them out to patrol guys like they do now.
Yeah.
I know the agency I worked for, Ada County, they issue a rifle to everyone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I think some of the bigger agencies, like where you're from, don't they have like rifle teams? Like not everybody gets a rifle.
Well, you know, now I'm not sure, but when we first got them, the sergeants had to carry the rifle, and a policeman had to shoot it. So
That's kind of funny.
yeah, so because if you carry it, you can't supervise yourself to shoot it.
Yeah.
So you carried it, and a policeman had to shoot it so you could supervise.
Boy, that's kind of
But then that
Funny
didn't
thinking.
last long, and then they started where the policemen could carry the rifles. And then I retired 2 years after, so I don't know what they do now. I'm sure they carry them in their cars now,
yeah,
like they should.
yeah.
But you know what's funny, amazing to me, when we approved that, you know, the only thing that made me mad is I didn't think of it. You know, a policeman thought of it, and he put that over the radio, and that went citywide, and I approved it citywide, and so there's not one member of the command staff that said, no, you're not going to do that, not going to cancel it. And they didn't show up until the shooting stopped, you know, because I'm not going to say because I don't know, but you know, we had to do something, and you know, now that I think about it, we could have door knocked asking for deer rifles, you know, anything to get a long gun to take these suspects out, because we ended up getting, you know, probably 10 or 11 officers that got hit pretty bad, and a couple civilians that got hurt, but no one died except for the suspects. So it worked out.
That's amazing. There was no officers killed.
Yes, and you know, we couldn't make rescues because, you know, we're taught to how to make rescues, but with only our vests, and that wouldn't stop the kind of bullets they were firing. But so finally they got an armored car, and they were making rescues with an armored car. So that worked out really good. So they had people in there making the rescues while everything, the shooting and stuff was going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've seen you know, news coverage on that, and it just looked like a war.
It was a war. It sure was. And you know, when everything was all said and done and we went back to work, we didn't have enough cars to field our officers. We had to borrow cars from other divisions because they shot so many of our cars up. And when you start getting those armor-piercing bullets, they go right through the cars. And I know the lieutenant and I, we were behind an 18-wheeler, the tractor part, so we had pretty good coverage there. But the cars were bad. You had to get an axle or something to get behind, you know, because the bullets would go right through.
I'll bet it was deafening too. I'll bet it was loud. Those
It was
AK-47s
loud,
in an
but
urban
you know what?
environment.
It was loud, but it wasn't deafening.
No.
Because it's like your adrenaline takes over, and I know when I got in the other shootings, it kind of goes in slow motion, and it's like it's just like a pop pop, you know. It's not like it was if we just sit here and shoot.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to explain, but it's just totally different.
Yeah, it's like for the guys who hunt, right? They'll go out and hunt, shoot a big game animal, and they don't even hear the gunfire. But
no.
But before you go hunting and you go to, you know, check your zero on your rifle, everybody's wearing hearing protection, because if you don't,
and you know, and I've shot my 30-06, and sometimes once I forgot to put my headsets on.
Yeah.
And man, is that thing loud. But you know, and the time that I got shot in the leg, and you know, the adrenaline's going and everything's slow motion, and I could feel myself get shot, and I knew, but I didn't have time to worry about that. You know, it's like, okay, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
And I did. I fell down, but I got back up and went after the suspect and got him. But it's just, it does not loud at all. It's just kind of goes into slow motion, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine being there, having to hunker down because a full automatic gunfire is coming towards you.
Oh, it was, you know, and I mean, they just didn't have any end to their gunfire, you know.
Did you have civilians that were, you know, just bystanders that were injured?
We did. We had several civilians that were shot.
Because I believe I remember seeing pictures and video of them doing like citizen rescues using like armored vehicles that were used to, like Brinks armored vehicles used.
Well, we had a I don't know what you call it. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like a tank with a it didn't have a gun on it, but it had a ramming thing on it. They brought that out.
Weren't they called like the V100s or something like
Maybe
that?
that was it. V100s.
Yeah. Those are what SWAT teams used to use before Bearcats existed.
Yeah, and I know on
Armored
the
vehicle.
radio they asked us if we wanted to be on 100, and I told them, I said, if it's big, bring it.
That's funny.
If it's big, bring it.
Yeah.
And I think they ended up using that to, they thought there might be a suspect in a shed somewhere. So they ended up knocking the shed down rather than going in.
They crushed it, huh?
Crushed it, yeah. and there was no suspect in there, but they used that too, yeah. So what we had to do, it's like, you turn from normal police work to survival. Now we're surviving. There are no rules anymore. We have to survive the best we can, and that's what we were doing. And we did. We survived. We got the suspects.
Well, that's an amazing story, and that's one of those once-in-a-lifetime events probably in your career, right? I mean, even though you've had other shootings, they didn't go on for 45 minutes, an hour of
the other
gunfire,
shootings, in a
2,000
couple
rounds.
seconds, they're over.
Yeah.
But this went on for 45 minutes, nonstop shooting. It was a long time, and you couldn't believe that only 2 people did all that. You know.
Yeah, it sounds like those guys had it really planned out.
Yes, yeah, and they had done some other bank robberies and armored cars successfully, and had a lot of money. And I think after the fact they searched one of the houses, and I think they found a lot of money at the house from a prior bank robbery. But they were violent, and they made out with a lot of money. But I guess the bank didn't have quite as much money as they anticipated. Because of a new policy of the bank or something. Yeah. But they got a lot of money. Yeah,
they must have different policies nowadays because you don't hear of bank robberies as often as you used to. I remember even in the Boise area, I remember having certain summers where they would have several bank robberies a week sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I know other than this one, on all the other bank robberies where the guy goes in and gives a note and stuff like that, they don't really get much money. Because the tellers don't have that much money in the thing, unless it's a takeover and they go to the vault. Yeah. But the tellers don't have much money, so they really don't get that much money in a bank robbery with a note type thing.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff has dye packs that explode and cause everything to be purple or pink or whatever.
And
then
I think
they have
the
tracking
suspects
devices.
got some dye packs as well.
Yeah. And they got tracking devices on some of that money. And
all kinds of things, yeah. But yeah, it was an experience. It was. And
you continued on with your law enforcement career after this for how long?
I did 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, I continued on, and then it's funny. We were going to go to the 12-hour program, 12-hour, 3-day, 12 hours, and our department studies everything, and so they studied for a couple of years, and they decided we're going to do that. We're going to go to patrol's going to go to the 12-hour watch, and I really wanted to do that. So we got a new chief, and he decided he didn't like it, so he stopped it. And I was going to go another year and 3 months, but they stopped that, and I drove a long ways to work every day, and I thought, I think it's time to go. Yeah. I was really disappointed in that. Couldn't work the 12-hour thing. So while you're there, you might as well stay longer, know? Yeah. So I thought it was time. So
in an area like that, most of the guys have to commute for like an hour or more. Right?
Yeah, I had an hour there and an hour and a half, 2 hours going home.
Well, that would make for a long day. That's like,
it did. So I might as well stay a few more hours, though, and have another day off.
That's a 14, 15-hour day every day.
It is, yeah. Yeah, traveling was a lot, yeah.
That would be tough. I couldn't do that.
Yeah?
I like here where we get take-home cars, and you get to pull in your driveway and log off on the computer.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, no. I had an hour and 15 minutes to get to work, and it's sometimes as long as 2.5 hours to get home, but always an hour and a half to get home. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a long day.
That cuts days off your life.
It does. It does.
And then if you're working graveyard shift, how do you drive that far after a 12-hour shift?
Well, it's hard, but I mean, you do, and then you don't have the traffic. I worked most of my career like on PMs and stuff in the afternoon, but the last part of it, I worked mostly days, and the days is where you get all the traffic. On the off hours, it's not as bad. It's only an hour then, not longer.
Now imagine some guys pick the later shifts just so they don't have to fight traffic.
A lot of people do, yeah. We had one guy that lived in Running Springs, and that was like 90 miles away. And he always worked morning watch, which was 11 at night to 7 in the morning, because he didn't have traffic then, you know. He could drive okay, but I couldn't do that, 100 miles, 90 miles.
That is crazy.
That's crazy.
200 miles a day.
But he lived in the mountains. He loved where he lived, He lived in Running Springs.
It'd almost be better to have a helicopter.
Wouldn't it be? It would be, yes. It would be.
Yeah, and I think for whatever reason, seems like so many of us first responders, we sure love a little bit more, like to be away from people. It seems like as soon as guys retire, they just want to get away, either buy a house in the county, or they want to get a cabin in the mountains. And
before I retired, I ran into one of my friends, another retired sergeant, and we were talking, and he says, "There's life after LAPD."
Yeah.
And I worked 28 years and 9 months, so that was a long time, and I had a great career. I just really enjoyed what I did, and I have no regrets. But it was just time to move on in your life, Mm-hmm. So I did. I retired.
Yeah, retirement's good. I recommend it.
I do too. Yeah, I've been retired now about 25 years.
I remember hearing people say, I'm surprised I'm so busy now, I'm surprised I had time to work. And I could never understand. I always thought that was the dumbest quote I'd ever heard. But yeah, there's days when
I don't know where I had time to work.
Yeah, now I'm like, man, sometimes I'm so busy trying to get things done.
There's not enough hours in the
Yeah.
day.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough hours in the day.
I guess you do the things that you want to do and do the things that you couldn't do just because you were busy working.
That's
And
right.
they just went undone.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
but-
So
well, Sam, that was a very interesting, talk or podcast today with you telling us about your background in the Hollywood bank robbery. I really appreciate hearing that.
well, thank you. I have enjoyed talking with you.
Like I say, for those of you guys who are too young to remember that, you need to go to YouTube and look up the Hollywood bank robbery.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed at how crazy a shootout that was.
Be amazed at what's on there. Yes, we were so outgunned, but it's LAPD has a history of the bad guy comes to LA and he doesn't leave because the Patty Hearst, what do they call them, the SLA, they came to LA and they didn't get away.
Yeah, Symbionese Liberation Army, right?
Symbionese Liberation Army, yeah, they didn't get away. We got them.
Yeah.
So LA is not a good place for those kind of people to come.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it is now, but I know growing up, when I was a young cop, I used to always follow police news, and LAPD seemed like they were always in the news for something. But they were sure innovative back in the day,
Well, it's funny because we had LAPD and we had LA County Sheriffs, both big organizations, and it seems like the news media always focused on us because they didn't like us. They always tried to find out what we did wrong.
Yeah.
And they always left LA County Sheriff alone, it seemed like, They always picked on LAPD,
Yeah.
but it was just a good department to be on. Yeah.
Well, good. I think that's about it. Our time is about up. We're right at about an hour.
Okay.
And it was great visiting with you. And
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it as well.
maybe if you think of some good stories, maybe we'll do it again.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.